Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we'll be talking about that large fall storm that will be occurring across the upper Midwest and into portions of the southern Canada and the northern Great Lakes region as it pushes towards the northeast. Now with this storm, the main things it will bring is the concern for severe weather, especially across Michigan, Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana on Tuesday and into Wednesday. Then as it pushes towards the northeast, it's not so much a severe weather threat, but potentially rain on top of areas that are obviously beyond saturated with what happened last week from the floodings of Ida, the remnants of Ida, Hurricane Ida. And of course, behind a large system like the one we're going to see, there is going to be a cool blast of air for much of the folks across the Midwest, the Northeast, the Southeast, and yeah, just really not everyone unfortunately seeing this, but a nice, pleasant, cool air mass following that system. Okay, before we get into this, if you guys are new to this channel, hello, welcome, check out the video, watch the video if you like it, consider subscribing. If you're not a new viewer and you're not yet subscribed, consider doing that. Obviously, don't subscribe just because I told you so. And if you have any comments, concerns, consider dropping them down below, and I will try getting them too. I pretty much answer all comments, right? I'm not one of those YouTubers that doesn't answer the comments. I don't get tons of comments, so I answer as many as I can. And usually that's enough. I don't get that many, so I can answer all of them. Okay, whatever. Without further ado, let's start talking about this without any more distractions. So first off, let's start off by looking at the GFS model. So let's just jump right into this. Notice that the GFS, it does bring a system across southeastern Canada today. And again, this has been going on already, so it's not really just the GFS that brings this, right? This system has been ongoing, and it's going to be pushing off towards the north and east. There's our little pressure with our very extended L. And yeah, that's basically not really our concern. That's not the system we're looking at. Notice a bit of showers and activity is going to be occurring across southern Canada with that, so definitely something to keep an eye on for. Notice though, across Minnesota, southern Canada, into Tuesday is where we start seeing that system that I'm talking about. Right now, that system energy is off the coast of British Columbia, so it's really just making landfall. But it quickly, as we push forward into time, notice Monday, right, into Labor Day, and into Tuesday, it makes its way across the southern Canadian plains and quickly starts compiling water in its atmosphere, if you will, its relative radius. Obviously, that starts raining. And here's where that severe weather threat is a possibility. Notice Michigan, right? I do want to say that this model, the GFS, underdoes probably some of the thunderstorms that will be occurring across Illinois, Wisconsin. They shouldn't be really a severe kind of outbreak type storm systems, thunderstorms, but they could definitely bring some damaging winds, some large hail with a few of the cells. Definitely something that is hard to predict on these long range models. But notice where it does show that yellow and orange, obviously you could assume is going to be the core and the biggest threat. Probably a slight risk will be issued for northern Michigan and southeastern Canada, maybe even into upstate New York as this system kind of drags through. I wouldn't say an enhanced will be issued, potentially, though that's probably pushing it. Right now, they just have a marginal for Michigan, or that's the last time I checked. And again, that does extend into Wisconsin and Illinois, even though this model doesn't show it as significantly. Notice, by Wednesday, the severe weather threat is gone, and this is very measly, you may think, this cold front. How is that going to bring flooding rains? Well, notice, it starts interacting with the tropics. Now, tropics at this point may be a word of PTSD to all the folks across the Northeast. This won't bring as many inches of rain as Ida did. It arguably may not even bring a single inch of rain. Probably under that, but there will be a few locations that could get pounded by a few thunderstorms, and you can see it's quickly moving. So it hits the Northeast late Wednesday, and by the time you're really getting out of work on Thursday, it's mostly gone. A few showers maybe across Massachusetts and obviously Maine, but the most of the Northeast starts clearing out. The problem is, obviously the soils can't take much more there, so if you get a thunderstorm or two, that may be a concern. But again, that's not really, it doesn't look great, the flooding potential, which is a good thing, trust me, right? Here, the rain across southern Canada may be a bit more expansive, and that's good. Not a flooding rain, and, I don't know the current drought status across southeastern Canada because the drought monitor that I use is only for the U.S. But, yeah, so definitely some nice light rain. I'm assuming even if you don't need the rain, it probably won't cause flooding. Across the Northeast, you can see pockets of up to half an inch, maybe an inch, so that's where the concern kind of lies. skies, but most of it falling up into in inner parts of the Northeast, and that's good because this is where there's a bit of a drought, and much of the rain from Ida did not fall here. So that is definitely something that would be preferred and probably a good thing. And I do want to say that this rain probably over here will be a bit more extensive across these areas. Maybe not widespread like in Canada, but definitely pockets of half an inch to a quarter of an inch to an inch under one of those thunderstorms that some of the high-res models are showing. And so again, this is the GFS. Notice that again, the weather or the rain threat isn't significant overall. I did mention the cool weather behind the system, and I'll show you that in just a bit. But first, I want to show you what the Canadian, a different model, shows in terms of precip. I show many models on this webpage because it's like news sources. If you look at one news source, yes, it may be correct, but you don't have that guarantee, right? They may be biased, you don't know. So it's kind of like the weather models. They have their own biases. NAM 12KM, a high-res model, is scientifically proven to have a cold bias. The GFS, it's a stereotype in a weather community to be a very bubbly and extremely aggressive in a long range, right? And the European and Canadian are a bit more toned down. So I could make a whole nother video about that stuff. But yeah, notice that the Canadian shows really relatively similar amounts, a bit more into Ohio, Indiana. Again, no flooding threat, but the concern is that, again, it's not really what's to come. It's already what has come. And on top of what may be normally, you know, a not a impressive event could cause things to get a bit worse. Though, again, I wouldn't think that it's going to be a cause for great concern. Just something I would want you folks to know. Notice Michigan, obviously, if that severe weather threat does happen with those storms, very powerful rain amounts potentially. I would say maybe up to an inch, inch and a half, definitely possible. Notice across Canada, the Canadian is putting out even more, up to 2 inches, which is definitely quite a bit, and thankfully won't be falling all at once, but it's definitely quite a bit of rain. Now let's take a look at that GFS, right? The first model I was showing you, and I want to show you the cool temperatures that will be following us. Again, you know, if this was an impressive cool outbreak, I'd probably call it the title something like "Cold Blast of Air Following the System," but this one, it's just going to bring normally chilly temperatures, and normally I say because it's going to be close to normal. Not a great anomaly, but you can see it keeps Wednesday, Thursday cool for much of the, even, you know, the south, the east. It's going to prevent it from being a heat wave. Though, obviously, what catches the eye is the unfortunate heat hitting the west where they don't really need it. So, again, this won't be affecting everyone, this system, nor the cold air behind it. Though the cold air, I should say chilly air, readjust my wording there. The chilly air will be a bit more profound in affecting many more people than the rain itself. But notice that, yeah, the cooler is pretty much scoured out of here by September, really by Sunday, the weekend. Just a quick little run in the long range, because why the heck not? There looks as if, you know, if the heat does move in, the GFS especially is a proponent of not keeping that warmth for a while across the Great Lakes. It brings in more chilly air behind a system. And I almost said snowstorm because, yes, in literally the past 10 model runs, the GFS has been showing some sort of a pattern change that leads to a snowstorm. Obviously, maybe not across Iowa, Nebraska, but very far fringes of the northern U.S. or southern Canada. And look at that large system. Very big. Warm air out ahead of it. Tropical influence, merging of two systems, and some relatively chilly air. So it's been showing that, and I know this is a bit off track, but I want to show you its 6 o'clock model run today. Look what it showed in the long range, right? Obviously, a lot of cold air. Sorry, a lot of precipitation. There is some cold air, and then that kind of puts it out to the north. And look, I mean, it results in a blizzard across southern Canada. So yeah, I mean, that isn't unheard of, but obviously the GFS hasn't remained consistent with that. So with its 12Z model run, which was the noon one, it showed cool air, just no snowstorm. And again, I would be surprised if it did show that snowstorm for several runs. But look at this chilly air it shows in the long range. Whichever model run you look at, the GFS has been extremely consistent with it. Look at the 6 o'clock one across, mid to late September. Something that's very impressive, though. Doesn't really agree with the European or the Canadian, but I do want to say that the Canadian only goes out to 240, and the GFS shows that pattern change kind of a bit afterwards. Okay, let's go back to the storm system that this video is titled about, and let's start talking about it, but with the high-res models. So I already showed you several models, right? The GFS and Canadian, but this is a NAM 12KM. Again, the model I said has that cold bias. Really not relevant in this case because, well, there's no snow, so the temperatures don't really matter. It's just the performance of the system, and usually the NAM historically does a pretty good job. It's been getting better. Honestly, the NAM 12KM was a pretty bad model a decade ago, but it's been getting better with its adjustments and different calculations, that different equations that are put into this, which how all models are made. Whatever, let's start talking about this. Notice Minnesota, Wisconsin, the UP. This model definitely shows a better indication, a better kind of display of how the severe weather threat may look like on Tuesday. Notice it's a line of storms. Yes, they can be pretty powerful, especially near the circulation. It will affect potentially Chicago, Indiana, maybe Indianapolis, Cleveland, much of Michigan, into southeastern Canada. It could start breaking up by the time it reaches late Tuesday. Here's the time frame, by the way. Notice 4, 7, 10. This is 1 a.m. This is 4 a.m. This is 7 a.m. This is 10 a.m. This is 1 p.m. now Wednesday. And notice that the cold front does kind of disintegrate, but look at that right there before it reaches the northeast Pennsylvania. That's a sign of some pretty nasty storms, and that's the concern. You get one on top of another system like that, or sorry, 1 or 2 thunderstorms. You know how thunderstorms look like, right? A brief downpour, very heavy rain, usually a bit of ponding of water afterwards, and then it's done. But then if you get 2 or 3 on top of soil that literally can't take any more, it starts becoming a concern. And that's why it's a bit of a concern with those showers and storms. They could kind of enhance that flooding threat. Again, it does emphasize a large area of widespread rain towards southern Canada, and like the other models, it does show that cool air. Definitely more of a anomaly in terms of cool weather during the day versus during the night, which has been a trend for the past little year or two. I've been noticing that the nights have been way less the nights have been warmer compared to average, and the days have been cooler. Let's take a look at the high-res Canadian version. So I showed you the Canadian operational long-range model. Let's take a look at its high-res friend. And notice, this is that storm system. Look, so again, it begins very vigorously across Minnesota, the North Woods, Wisconsin, Marquette, into the southern Canadian prairies as it drifts into Ontario. Lots of rain, obviously, around the circulation, but that severe weather threat, definitely a concern for Michigan into southern Canada. That cold front does start dying off, but with the help of tropical moisture, look, it starts reinvigorating. Again, that could cause a flooding threat for the Northeast, not necessarily because of how much rain it will bring, but because of how much rain it could bring on top of already absolutely drenched soils. So that is not really the best news you probably want to hear, but hopefully, again, you don't. The rain isn't going to be that impressive. So yeah, you can see this model does show those few pockets, not widespread rain. Probably I would say widespread rains of maybe up to 1/4 inch, but definitely pockets of up to like 3/4, maybe an inch, and obviously an inch on top of what you've already seen. It's not going to be good. So that's what this model shows. FE3 high res, it goes out to 60 hours, so it only shows kind of the first wave of the system. And I do want to say that this is, again, a rather impressive thunderstorm event across Michigan potentially, and obviously rain threat across Ontario, but they're not really dealing with the rain that the Northeast is. And yeah, definitely a bit of cool air following that as well. HRDPS only goes out to 48 hours, so even less further out, but it does show that system at a very relatively similar position to the other models. So definitely something that, it's showing a good initial signs. I want to add good initial signs of agreement with the other models. Let's take a look at the European. Very good model. I'm sure if you're in the weather community, you know exactly what this model does. It's a reasonable model. I mean, you could call it the mother of all models, if you will. And notice that with that, again, that setup, this is Tuesday morning, Tuesday midday, Tuesday afternoon, reaching Chicago, Milwaukee. Michigan's starting to get that severe weather threat. Detroit towards afternoon, late afternoon, early evening. Kind of weakens the cold front, right? But during the day on Wednesday, re-intensifies, brings out showers, storms into the Northeast. Not the best of news. Again, hopefully the rain isn't too strong. European doesn't show a ton of rain, but definitely enough to cause some local flooding. Potentially, again, Maine dealing with that rain for a bit longer than the rest the rest of the Northeast, but again, drying up pretty quickly. And then following that, the European does show a bit of chilly air. Not enough to call it a cold outbreak, but enough to be spawned by a classic kind of fall little system. Notice 2, 3, 4 degrees below average. That's perfect. It's not cold, but your windows can be open. Obviously, that won't really last for too long. Across the upper plains, you can see it starts getting replaced with warm air towards the southeast. More cool air lingers on for a bit longer, but that too does get replaced. And then potentially more, maybe cool air masses, depending on what the models show. Again, the GFS was a bit more aggressive, and I mentioned this, that the European isn't in agreement with that, showing more of a warm pattern following that. For the Great Lakes and Midwest, that is for the western United States, it's going to be warm through much of this time period. And I know I've been focusing on the Midwest this whole time, but if you look across, other areas, it's really not going to be anything too significant in terms of precipitation. There were earlier signs that there could be more activity across the west. That has kind of gone away, unfortunately, but we'll have to see. It could still go, change and start showing that again. Another area of concern is the south. There could be a lot of tropical activity, maybe not in the near future, but in the next really 50 to 200 hours, there could be a lot of activity, and that's definitely a concern. And the GFS obviously does mimic that as well. Again, this is the model I showed you on this webpage, the first model, but I'm showing you on this weather page, and obviously, yeah, look at those colors right there. That's not good news. Continue to rain across the northeast, the southeast, and the Midwest, kind of a weather pattern. This is its newest model run, the afternoon model run. Notice it's consistent, right? Lots of rain across the south, the upper plains. There are some changes model run to model run. This one was the one across 6 o'clock in the morning. Notice it showed more rain here. Lots of rain across southeastern Canada, the northeast. That's not really good news. And then you could see that this was yesterday at midnight. Much more wet towards the Midwest and southern Canada. The newest model runs kind of shifted a bit towards Ontario and Ontario and Manitoba. Regardless, stay safe, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you learned something new. This video was a bit all over the place with these models, but I hopefully got a good view of what's to come. Again, warmer and drier across the west and southwestern Canada, though maybe not southwestern Canada. Southwestern Canada could be getting on some more precipitation. You can see right there. But yeah, the upper plains, west, drier, warmer. The south, maybe some signs of cooler at given days, but mainly a warm and wet. And the northeast, Great Lakes, periods of warmth and cool. Obviously, the next couple of days, it's going to be rather cooler and wetter. Following that, maybe a bit drier. And of course, for those folks that, want to see the long range pattern, it is getting exciting. You can see the latest GFS model does show that activity in the long range becoming different. Notice that for now it's just these little waves kind of flowing from the northwest, right? We do see those signs of cool air, but this is where it starts changing. Notice first signs of snow right there across southern Manitoba. And this is where the GFS starts introducing larger systems, larger storms. He combines it with the tropics, potentially some sort of a snow system getting pretty close to the border right there. It's not often unheard of. Maybe North Dakota seeing some pockets of snow right there. So yeah, definitely, and also more chillier according to the GFS. Though again, not all models agree with that. All right, if you're still watching this, I'm impressed. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next episode. See ya. Bye.